Said Mac, it's a beautiful thing.
Music Tech Works. Music Tech Works.
What's up, everybody? Said Mac here of Music Tech Works. I've had the Akai MPC XL for about a month now, and I have a lot of people asking my opinion on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you in this video instead of replying to every person individually. And I did have specific questions as far as application. What do I feel about, how I use it in my studio compared to some of the other MPCs? So this is not a spec video, all right, and it's really not a comparison video. I got that coming up later. I'm going to compare it to the MPC Live 3. Being an MPC guy, I have both, okay? So this MPC is for the studio, and the MPC Live 3 is for whenever I want to leave or go anywhere, travel. I do travel. Let's go ahead and start there, all right? So let's begin with the size and the build of it. Actually, it's huge. It's a huge MPC, and I actually love it because when I first started off on the MPCs, it was the 2000 and the 2000 XL. Now, they weren't small like the MPC Live and the form factors in the MPC 1. They weren't as big as the MPC 3000, but I eventually got on the 3000 and the 60, and I actually love the big feel of it. And it just feels like an actual instrument to me. It doesn't feel like a computer, which all MPCs are computers, but it just feels like it's the centerpiece of your studio. To me, I like the ergonomics of it. I'm not straining my eyes too much. I'm not doing too much menu diving, although there is a little bit of menu diving, but it's not as much as in the past. So it feels intentional and solid. All right, so again, like a real centerpiece of my studio. And again, this is how I feel about it, and not quoting anybody else. How I feel about it, why I bought it, and no, it was not given to me, okay? I do enough to be able to do what I need to do. If I want to try something, I buy it because I put in work, all right? Some of the artists I work with, you might have heard of them, some of you may not. But the thing is, I'm busy. I'm able to do what I want to do. If I buy something, don't like it, I'll return it or I'll sell it later. But hey, of course I was getting the MPC XL. Everybody who knows me already knew. They thought I had it already, but no, I'm not sponsored by Akai as of yet. Would I like to one day? Sure, yeah. Akai is probably one of my favorite companies, okay? All right, so let's talk about speed and plug-in performance. I'm not a heavy sampler, but I do sample. But I mainly use instruments, plug-in instruments. One of the limits with the previous version of the MPC was the 8-track limit, okay, as far as instrument plugins were concerned. That's a problem for me because I'm also scoring. I can do a lot of things on the computer, but the whole point is to be able to do what I need to do in standalone, because I prefer standalone. That's what I prefer. Not worrying about what anybody else prefer, or anything like that. You call it old school, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. I prefer standalone, okay? I was having issues running into it, into track limitations with plugins. Now, you can go to key groups and use as many tracks as your MPC can handle. To me, the sound quality of the key groups, especially the third-party ones, they're not as great as the plug-in instruments that come with the MPC, and I do compare them to native instruments, and I do compare them to Omnisphere, and I do compare them to other plug-in companies for your computer, okay? And with that being said, learn how to tweak, okay? It's not hard to do that, but my whole point of this segment is to just talk about the track count. All right, so and for plugins, so I can layer as much as I want, okay? And a lot of times I'm working on multiple tracks at one time. Like in the intro videos of what I did, all those are inside of one project. Normally, I would have to just stop and create a new project. If I want to go back to the previous track I was working on, I have to save and reopen it again. I'm able to continue working because ideas come to me fast, and I may just be inspired by one sound or by a particular instrument. I can keep layering and trying different things over and over and over without having to stop and start over. Okay, I can load as many as I want to. Rarely, I'm really not using 32, but I have used 20, 25, 30 tracks, depending on if I'm scoring, if I'm emulating an orchestra, or anything. I can do that with this MPC 2000 XL. All right, so another issue with the previous version, even with the XE with its 4 gigs of RAM, which basically just allowed you to load up more content in the memory. But CPU wise, when you're looped, you got so many tracks, it used to have this little skip every now and then. To fix that, I would have to save and just reopen, the project after rebooting. And then most of the time that would fix that. But here, I haven't had that problem. I loaded up some of the same tracks. I even did it with the MPC Live 3. I'm gonna go there for the Live 3 later on. But it did not skip. It did not do any of that. Okay, so what's next? I have little notes and a little outline here. So controls and workflow. All right. So yes, it has a lot of buttons. And just like the previous MPC, the X or the flagship, it has 16 Q links. They're all across the top. I thought this was a little odd. I see the point. And it does have the step sequencer, but I do a lot of engineering on the machine itself. Okay, I do a lot of the sound design, a lot of the programming, a lot of the mixing, or what I call pre-mixing. Can I say that? But normally I like for it to sound a certain way before I even get it to my DAW. But I track out, but I can get a nice sound with it. So I use a lot of the buttons to get to the functions, okay? And I don't have to use the screen so much. Now with save, you press save, and then everything pops up on the window. Then you have to press the screen to go ahead and do what you need to do. But I like the double click function, which I believe is in the other MPCs, but I never really used it. I would just go to my menu and go from there. But yes, you double click mixer to go to the actual pad mixer. The whole point is that everything is laid out with all of your buttons right there, especially the sample feature. It's really easy just to go directly to sampling, okay, and chopping, or whatever you need to do, converting your sample into into an instrument. All that is right there. All the functions, most of the functions are right there on the MPC, and I'm a hands-on person, and I just like the fact that I can just keep going, without too much stopping. All right, so I have more control. I like the channel control section where it has your volume and all your buttons to get to the effects for that track, and just anything that you want to do with that track is right there in the top left-hand corner. Okay, so I like that. I got control. I don't have to go to pad mixer or anywhere else if I just want to turn the track down. and I'm in my main screen, I can just reach up and turn that knob. These are the things, they make a little difference. Also, I like the monitoring section on the right hand side to where I can see my inputs and all my outputs. Level is very important. Level setting is important. That's how you get the best sound, okay? Learning how to set your levels, learning what you're looking at, all right? So I like the fact that it's there on the MPC, especially when I'm in standalone mode. I may not even turn the computer on that day. I might just want to come in here and just make beats, okay? So everything is right there in front of me. Storage. Yes, you can add your own card or hard drive or SSD card to the MPC XL, just like you can do most of the previous new gen versions. Can do with the the Key 61, Key 37. You can connect hard drives up to them and insert flash drives or SSD cards. But the Key 61, you can install a hard drive. But on here, you can do it as well. But I do like the fact that you do have onboard storage, 256 gigs at that. That's a lot. We all know that hard drive space is going up. So I took my previous hard drive out of the MPC, out of my Live 2. No, I took it out of the SE, the MPC XE, and I put it in my Live 3. Okay, and I have an SE card for the MPC XL. I will eventually get an internal hard drive, but I like the fact that I do have the onboard storage. Now, the key to the onboard storage this time around with the Live 3 and the XL, I'll get to the Live 3 later, is that once I go into controller mode, I can actually see the content folders and I can drag and drop things to that content folder. So I took my car's hard drives, I moved all the files to the SD card. I got a 256 gig SD card as well. Or is it a 128? I think it's a 256 gigabyte. No, actually it's a 512. So do I actually need an internal hard drive at this point? Maybe not. But I'll probably get one later, a 1 or 2 terabyte, but I'm not in a hurry. Also with the sampling, I've recently reduced my I reduced my setup to my core instruments. Okay, so I had 19 instruments that I was using. I didn't use all of them every day. They were just sitting here good to look at, right? But I wasn't using all of them. So what I did, I narrowed it down to my top 9, including the MPC 2000 XL. All right. If I want to patch in the 60, I recently added the patch bay. I can patch it in. I can do all that. But for what I'm using on a daily, on almost every track, I have these instruments set up to record. But with that being said, for my other instruments, I went through all of my favorite presets that come with the machines and the ones that I created, and I created key groups, okay, auto sample for most of them. All right, so that's a lot of memory. I can store it directly on the MPC itself on this internal memory drive. That's what I like about one of the things that I like about the internal 256 gigabyte, and being able to copy those files over to the hard drive that's inside of the Live 3 as well, and on my computer. Okay, so I do like controller mode for the MPC because it lets me use my plugins. All right, Omnisphere 3, I do have it, but my plan is to use my MacBook Pro as a sound module, and I'm going to MIDI it up, and then I just monitor the audio and record the audio inside of the MPC in the MIDI, and it just keeps me still standalone. Okay, it excites me. I'm excited about the future, basically. So one thing we got to understand, a lot of these standalone instruments, they have their own, they have an operating system. This one is based on Linux. So with Linux, it basically allows it to be a computer, the way it's stored. Now some drum machines, they're not compatible, like the old operating systems for the 2000 XL and some of the other MPCs. They're not computer OSs, rather they're dedicated MPC operating systems. Okay, so with the 2000 XL and the Live 3 in the new generation of MPCs to come, they're written on Linux. So it has like really big potential. For example, Bluetooth is going to play a big role in the future. And not just with Splice, but for transferring files, networking, and possibly accessing shared storage. So that'll be great. So it feels like a system that's still growing. I'm sure we're gonna be able to connect the keyboard and mouse up to it eventually. I said it before when I made a couple of years ago when we were anticipating the next MPC flagship, we were talking about, the keyboard and mouse. Okay, and we called it the MPC XL, by the way. I did, at least. All right, go back and watch that video. You can see how we predicted that. Then they came with the XE, which was nothing but the X with a paint job and more RAM. Okay, but we do have some real updates here. They didn't change the sound, but hey, we'll talk about the sound in a minute. So let's talk about who this MPC is for. It's for me and you just like me. And this MPC is for me because I make music constantly and I love working in standalone. All right, so I have been fortunate enough to make a living for music. So this is a business asset and I get a real ROI, that is a return on investment. Since I bought it, it's already paid for itself multiple times over because I make tracks all the time, independent artists, some signed artists, some artists who were banging years ago, they're independent now. Some artists who are on the come up, they got a budget, they come to me. I have tracks readily available. I do exclusive tracks. I don't do track leasing as far as my new batches starting in 2026, okay? Because I like exclusive tracks, and that way I got control. I like to work with the artist to make sure everything is registered correctly. So I'm always making music, and I'm actually earning a living from my music. So yeah, this MPC XL, I almost said 2000 XL, which I do have one of those too. The MPC XL is for me, okay, because I'm able to justify it. Now, if this is a hobby and I just want to get it and I got the money to blow, sure, yeah. I got friends who, they play around, they got studios, they're not like serious. They just wanted it and they bought it. Actually, one of them went with me to Guitar Center to buy it. Shout out to Toby Meeks over there, Madam Mad Tracks over there, Guitar Center hooked me up. Went down there with a couple of days later, got with DJ Toon. He was interested in it. We went down to Guitar Center and we bought it, okay? He didn't have to, he wanted it, but he was impressed with it enough to, hey, let's, yo, Mac, I want to go check it out. All right, we got it. Went down there, made the deal. Now he has it. So for me, it's worth it. Also, I use a lot of hardware, okay? I use a lot of tracks. I'm curious about gear. I teach. I want to be able to show people how to do things. I'm not doing a lot of stuff on YouTube. I'm actually beginning to get more into the lessons with Akai MPC from the beginning, coming up soon. All right, and I'll be using the MPC 1 for those first 10 lessons, okay? And then we'll move to the other machines. But the whole point is that everything carries over to the machines because of the operating system. Some of the things you won't be able to do with the previous MPCs, really because of the pads, and the CPU and the memory. But for the most part, in general, everything is pretty much the same. And again, I teach one-on-one lessons. I go to people, those that I know, I let them come over here. We bring their equipment, their MPCs. I teach them one-on-one how I work and how, in general, based on the manual, how things work. But everyone develops their own workflow on how they like to do things. For instance, I like to sequence some of my old MPCs with the new MPCs, or I might even chop up samples in the new MPCs and then sample it back out into the other MPCs. It just depends. I'm experimental. There's no rules to it, so I can do how I want to do it. You do it how you want to do it, and if you want to see some of the ways I do it, stay tuned. And I've learned a lot over the last 30 years, on how to produce music and everything. And hey, I like to share that information, and you're not going to do what I do, and I'm not going to do what you do. But hey, I don't see nothing wrong with sharing information. Really, I'm staying current so I can serve my clients. I have a business, Music Tech Works. Actually, it is Mac Music Enterprises LLC. Okay, the school is up under that. What I teach, what I do. Okay, I pay taxes and all of that. So everything is legit on me. I teach how I work and what I've learned in my experience going to major studios, working up under major engineers and major producers, and working under the ones I even ghost produce for. We're gonna talk about from here on out. All right. So at this point in time in my career, I'm just not getting to the point of where, okay, last couple of years I've been shopping tracks to sign artists and everything. I do have a manager. I have a team and all of that good stuff. So, and I've been focusing on sync music, tracks for TV, video, commercials. I'm a lyricist as well. I've been writing whole songs. I've been getting deep into the Southern Soul music. Got a lot of music coming out there. Some of y'all heard it, but check out Big Lou Rivers, son of Clarence Carter, coming soon, son of a legend. Also, of course, I bought the 2000. Of course, I bought the MPC XL. I'm an MPC head. I love MPCs. All right, it literally saved me from being regular. Okay, when dealing with A&R people, and one of the A&R people said, "Hey, you need to do what they got and use what they got." And to an extent, it's true. Yeah, it's just a tool. Back then, it was get the 3000 or the 2000 XL, because that's what Jazzy Faye was using, the 3000 and a Triton, the MPC and a Triton. Okay, I got those things. Next time I met the A&R person, he said, "Okay, now I know you know how to use it. Now let's come on with some hits." And I've been rolling ever since. The first little run ended up being some ghost production stuff. That was 20 years ago. Would I talk about it? Not really. Let's move on to the future. Let's talk about now and just move on. I did get paid though. All right. Let's get that straight. I got paid. No credit, but I got paid. All good. All right. I'm still connected to those producers, and some of them I'm not. Some of them not even doing the music anymore. But I know for a fact that my music is broadcast industry ready. Okay, and I'm still learning every day and taking heed to other producers. Teddy Riley, shout out. I got that book. I listen to the audio. Now I'm reading it, soaking it all in. Teddy Riley, yeah, big influence. Okay, so let's just say this: from the MPC 2000 to 3000, all the way up to the XL, it helped me level the playing field straight up. I was going in there playing little beats that I did in Cakewalk, and they was like, I like the melodies. It's just not sounding the way it's supposed to sound. Like, you need to get an MPC. I was told from a major A&R, and I'll just say he was at LaFace Records, then he moved on to Columbia. Still in touch with him. Also, keep this in mind. Skills matter just as much as the sound and the gear. So your craft is always number one, all right? Piece of equipment is not going to make your beats. As far as composition, is probably not going to make it better. It's not going to make you a better producer. And I would say, as far as, okay, all of a sudden I got an MPC, now I'm a great producer. Okay, quality wise, the quality of the sounds, just knowing how to engineer. Gear can help. Okay, it can help, but it has to be inside of you composition wise to have the ideas to at least start off with. All right, so I'm not going to be one of the ones who say 100% a new drum machine or a new piece of gear can't make you a better producer. It absolutely can. All right, you just got to know how to use it, and you got to have the inspiration from the beginning. Okay, me making beats on the Triton LE alone or the Korg M1 versus when I added the MPC 2000 to my workflow, it was a totally different thing when I played my tracks for artists and A&R people at record labels. It was a totally different thing. So it did make me a better producer, but at the same time, I was also learning and watching other producers and reading and learning music theory, taking piano lessons and watching other engineers on how to get this particular sound. And first time I went to Tree Sounds, or actually it was Dallas Austin Studio. The first time I went there, I was blown away. Okay, and I just had to set my game up. Okay, And that was actually I went to Stankonia too, and that was a connection. Somebody I was working with, me and him, we had a studio together, whatever. And I went there and it just blew my mind because I thought I was there, but I wasn't. So when I went and saw what these guys were doing, I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, I got to step my game up, and getting the gear did help. All right, so for me, I'll answer this question. All right, is the MPC XL worth it for me and how I work? Yes. For most people, probably not. So let's start here. It's expensive. It's overkill for a hobby. For many, the Live 3 or even the MPC 1 Plus makes far more sense. So I'm gonna say choose the MPC that fits your reality, not your ego. Okay? So is it worth it? Yeah, with everything that I do, yeah, it's worth it to me. Okay, I like it. I love new gear. I don't like all new gear, but I do love new gear. I like trying new gear. Being an MPC person, yeah, it's worth it to me. 2,800, was it 2,899? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty penny, as my cousin would say. It's a pretty penny. But where are you at in your music career? Where are you at in your skill set? Not saying if you're new to the MPC, don't buy the MPC XL. I'm just saying that to me, it just makes sense if you start off small. I even have an MPC Studio MK2 that I might even give away to an aspiring producer who wants to get in the MPC world, but they want to, they prefer to use the computer. Okay, so I might just give that away. But where are you with your skill set? I don't recommend 2000 XL. Probably about, just in my personal circle, probably about 20 people who ask me about this. I would probably say 3 of them would benefit by getting the MPC 2000. I mean the MPC XL. They would definitely benefit. 3 of them, maybe 4, but 3 at least. Okay. For everybody else, I would recommend get a used Live 2. If you want to jump in and learn on the MPC Live 3, save yourself $1,000 or more, I would go that route. But the MPC is not for everybody. Okay, it's a lot of money. Everybody's not serious. I made 4 beats today. Okay, one of them is already placed. The other 2 got placed in I got a sync license for it. It's going to be in a workout application. All right. And actually about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I did a whole deal to where I did 10 tracks that's going into that same workout application. All right. So I charge a fee up front and I license those tracks out for a couple of years. And if the app is still going strong, we just go ahead and we just renew it. Okay. But I do this all the time. So my MPC XL is already paid for. Everything in my studio is already paid for. All right. Because I work. This is all I do all the time. All right. So it takes a lot of sacrifice. I was working at one time trying to do this and work a regular job at the same time. I'm just saying for me, I was semi-successful. But when I quit and my back, just got up against the wall, I have to work. I know my skill set. I do other things too. Okay. I'll fix computers on the side. I just don't make beats and place music with indie and major artists. Also set up recording studios. You have to find those skills within you to see what you need to do. I teach basic music theory lessons. I give basic piano lessons. Okay. Just helping producers with their melodies. Things like that. That's what music theory, it'll help you. It'll actually help you understand even if you use loops. It'll help you tune your 808s. I teach those things. I just don't, I have more than one stream of income, okay? All right? So it's for me. Money-wise, it's a business expense and it's actually a tax write-off, okay? I can write this off if I can, and it'll go against what I owe in my taxes, okay? I don't get refunds that often, okay? All right? Face it. All right. So, but I do get credits and everything up against the actual revenue. And I went to school for accounting too. I was doing taxes for a few studios, and I do for a few musicians, but I don't like, hey, I'm gonna do taxes, blah blah blah. It's a headache. I don't want to do it no more. So I probably do taxes for me and one other person, one of my artists that I'm working with. Okay, he has Airbnb businesses, so I help him just gather his information, and we go from there. But workflow wise, it's super fast. It doesn't choke up. I can load up as many plugins that I want to for mixing, and even mastering or getting the good levels on your track. I don't like to call it mastering, but hitting at 0 dB or whatever, or close to it. Soft Clipper is fine. You can use that, but there are other tools inside the MPC ecosystem that you can use besides the Soft Clipper. It's future proof. All the things that's coming up with the Linux OS. There are some bugs that I know that they're fixing. Okay. Thing about it is software. Those things can always be fixed. All right. So the only thing I'm not crazy about on this MPC or the Live 3 are the pads. Okay. They're starting to grow on me. I can see where, as a sound designer, and even with some of the preset kits that they have, even the blank templates, I'm starting to really dig the MPC pads. All right. Let me not say I'm not crazy. Let's say I wasn't as crazy about them. They're growing on me. I really understand and get it. The pads are not as plushed as I would like, coming from the vintage MPCs. But after a while, you get used to them after the first few days. Okay, they are very sensitive. You can adjust the sensitivity on them. All right, and I believe we can double check, but we can check and see if MPC stuff, where normally they would be coming out with extra stuff. I think they got some pads already, but I can't say 100% sure, but we'll check and see. But they have some thicker pads that are going to be, the MPC pads. Getting used to that touch strip over there at first. The touch strip at first, I was bumping and rubbing up against it, but that was mainly on the Live 3. But with the space of this MPC, I'm cool with the touch strip. I'm not accidentally triggering things. I wish there was a way where the Q links were in the 16, the 4x4 array, but I understand why they did this. They wanted to line them up with the step sequencer, which I'm actually starting to use more and more of these days. So I do get that and understand that. So most everything else I love. Like I'm good with it. As far as the sound, it sounds like the other MPC X, like the X, XE, the one. Some would argue and say, our major producer said, hey, I think it bumps a little bit harder. I don't know, maybe it does, but it sounds like modern music. Okay, not as colored. It just sounds like an MPC. It does hit hard though. It does hit, and also it plays back what you put in it. You might lose some of the lower frequencies, like if you sample from other drum machines that are like lo-fi, you might lose some of the low, situation. But for the most part, it sounds clean. It sounds the way that modern music today sounds. If I want to do a classic hip hop beat, I'll either sample the sounds from my other vintage machines, or I'll just use the vintage machines, or I will sequence those vintage machines with the MPC XL or one of the other MPC, the newer MPCs, because the workflow is faster. All right, I do like the ASR 10 as well, but I will sequence it with one of these machines here. Okay, so that's my review so far and my impressions. And if you got any questions, hit me up. I'll be starting the Akai MPC from the beginning course here within about a week or so. I'll post up with a countdown, and the first 3 lessons will be up. I'm going to do 3 lessons a week. Okay, maybe 4, but at least 3 lessons a week. And these lessons are very basic. If you already know how to use the MPC, don't even watch it. I don't want to hear the little crazy comments. it's not for you, basically. That's my feelings about it, and not telling anybody how to spend their money. All I can say is make music, do what you do. Thanks for watching, subscribing, and sharing. Any questions or anything, hit me up. Follow me on IG at SaidMac. I'm also on Facebook as well. But yeah, peace out. Thanks for watching.